any method that you can use to remove sediment that's not manually using a tool, i.e. if you can flow it out with mud or blow it out with an airlift system, is golden. If you have to manually pull every auger up, you're facing two things. The pressures on that soil are greater the deeper you go, which then means it's more compact, but also means it can collapse easier. And also every tool full of whatever it is, post hole digger, ice fishing auger in my case, with a PVC pipe attachment, every time you're pulling that up, you're having to break the suction from the clay around the auger bit. So you're pulling on it with, I'm serious, like over 100 pounds of upward force. And then if it actually starts working, if you actually can get soil on that auger, it's heavy, right? So you gotta lift it as deep as the well is up every time, over and over and over. Now I was doing that, whatever, but the sand was also beginning to collapse, even though I was using bentonite to go through it. And the reason that was is because of the slow pace that I was making. I struggled a lot until I started using it, clay powder, bentonite powder, in the borehole. Before, I was intending to use bentonite powder and drilling fluid to flow mud out with like a trash pump or a semi-trash pump, but I never did do that because I couldn't get enough water out there right away. So I was like, well, I'll try using something else. So I had the powder sitting around, but I wasn't employing it just for using it on an auger. If you were doing anything, that still is a positive element to be using. I could have continued to go deeper. I think if I had, this project had that well open for a long time. And the longer it was open, the more prone it was to cave in. Like, hunks of sand would come off the side of the wall. It began to make a, larger annular space down there, especially when it was underwater. That's where it was falling in. And it was only a matter of time. I could tell I was going deeper. I'd pull out, let's say, 2 5-gallon pails of sandy, blue clay water stuff, right? So you're digging out this saturated soil, this hydric soil. But then I took a tape measure, went down there. I didn't increase depth. I'm tripping because I'm taking my shoes off. Anyways, didn't increase in depth. I sit there, I spent a couple hours yanking this thing out of the borehole, which is, again, it's like going to the gym and doing squats. And let's say you're doing, like 4 or 5 sets of squats, and then you check the depth of the well or whatever you're doing, and you're like, oh, I've made 0 progress going downward in a way. So what was happening is yeah, it was just slurping down to the center of the hole. I was drawing it up and it slurped down this large diameter. So I was using an 8-inch diameter auger, which is already large for a 4-inch PVC, so 4-inch internal. So I don't know, let's call it 5 something inches for the actual casing. And I'm using like an 8-inch auger. It's already too big, but this thing was 17 inches. It was twice the size of the diameter. And by the time I finished, it was in ovular shape. And I'm drilling a circle, so you can tell that soil is moving. And I did not continue to go deeper, logic being, oh hey, the water table is going to go down in the drier periods. How far down in this area? There's not a lot of data because no one's got a well this close. So the deeper the better, except for if I were to drill and then cause it to collapse, I would be very disgruntled and then it would be counterproductive. So I made a call to stop when I was where I was at. And after you hit 15 feet of depth, and you're legally able to have that well be there in this state. The reason you want to go deeper is because you avoid groundwater from the top, I should say, whatever, contamination of the well. So the deeper you are, the more you're isolated from those things happening above you, as far as on the soil, and then maybe you run into more minerals, no problem. But there's a hillside up here. It's behind all these trees, and it slopes upward and it goes up into a highway ditch. And behind that, there's nothing being used, and it's just all sort of sand soil. So as I'm running the hose, if I were at my house I grew up at, if I run the hose into the dirt, or my grass, it would pond up and start flowing down the street. Here, it just doesn't even go a foot and it disappears into the ground. Because it's such a highly well-drained soil, it just goes straight down in. So pros and cons to that. So I need to be careful about, I wouldn't open up a feedlot or a chicken coop above my well. That'd be a foolish errand. All those things I was wrestling with as I was going towards that completion. So I'm sort of wrapping up that project. I'm not 100% done. I have the submersible pump in, I have the casing in, I have the gravel pack in, and now I'm filling the annular space with grouting up to the top. You have to use a tremie pipe and go up and fill that. Then I'm done. I'll probably use, I don't know if I will use a pitless adapter. I probably will use a pitless adapter, I guess. But not because I need it there with the depth it's at, because I want to know how to put one in and all that for a more serious well, which will be up the hillside and a deeper well. Hope that makes sense. That's a wrap today, live from the driveway.